Hello, I'm back into today's video. We're going to have a look at weather next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, this one will take us to around the 26th of July, so going in towards the end of the month with this particular update. And then we've got 1 month of summer left, of course, after that. Although you can get summer-like conditions going on in September and October, it has to be said. But anyway, we're going towards the end of July with this month's update. Very uncertain what's going on next week. I think today's models have probably gone a little bit more towards the unsettled side, actually, for next week. So we're back to that idea that perhaps going a little bit downhill for the final week of the month. But that is very uncertain. It's chopping and changing from run to run. So don't necessarily be thinking that that is exactly how things are going to be playing out. We'll have a look at the charts in a moment. And say about the storms tonight, even that's very uncertain. What's going on tonight? We've got some models that want to give us quite a wet night down in the southeast with the risk of some thunderstorms. Other models show nothing at all in terms of thunder. So have a look at this on Storm Watch this evening around 6 o'clock again. But proved a bit of a nightmare to pin it down, to be honest. I'll be glad to get this one out of the way. Anyway, before I get on with today's main video, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. You guys are going to have Brad's widgets and the articles that you're interested in. Please click through the article to read the article. Thanks so much for doing that. There's video ads on most pages. They open out the content. When you watch them, they'll close back up again. It's all helping to pay for the website. Thanks very much for getting involved and doing that. So we're going to start off very quickly with the central England temperature for July from Hadley, and here we are up to the 14th. We've got a central England temperature provisional anyway of 17.3, which is an anomaly of 1.4 degrees above average, so a solidly warmer than average July so far. Nothing particularly record-breaking, nothing really hot. We're not talking about sort of July 2006 type record-breaking heat, but it has been a warm July so far. I would expect that's probably going to tick down a little bit as we go through towards the end of the month, but I think we will come out a bit above average. I think overall the Gauss weather this July month-ahead forecast is proving reasonably okay this time. Now, the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index, which is a reflection of the atmospheric setup in the Southern Pacific Ocean, is starting to crash again. Remember, we get very negative numbers within the Southern Oscillation Index. It's telling us that El Nino is developing, or El Nino is here. What's been going on over the past few months, I've explained this in other videos recently, what's been going on is that we've been getting fairly regular crashes in the SOI. So an atmospheric setup that is very reflective of an El Nino in the Southern Pacific Ocean. I mean, it's been sort of easing off for a few days, and we've been seeing the SOI drift back up more towards neutral territory, showing that the atmosphere is sort of relaxing a little bit. And then we'll get another burst of very negative Southern Oscillation Index type atmospheric setup. I think this is probably helping to cause a lot of the uncertainty within the computer models. It's causing a lot of uncertainty, I would assume, in the Southern Pacific Ocean in terms of the way the computer models are modelling these changes within the atmosphere in the Southern Oceans. And of course, all of the world's weather is sort of interlinked, so something very peculiar to the modelling, anyway, is going on in one part of the world, then it's going to have a knock-on effect in other places. I would assume that's part of the reason, anyway, why we're seeing such a degree of model uncertainty this summer. So anyway, we have this very negative burst of the SOI at the end of June and into the start of July. 4th of July, for instance, going down to minus 30.7. 3rd of July going down to minus 34.6. Really negative numbers. Then it came back up a little bit as we went through into the end of the first week and the start of the second week. So we went a bit positive. For instance, on the 6th of July we go to plus 2, and on the 7th go to plus 13.4. So that's almost reflecting the opposite of an El Nino setup in terms of what the atmosphere is doing in the Southern Pacific Ocean. But just recently we started having another crash. We're having another burst of very negative numbers. So the 14th of July, for example, goes down to minus 18. The 15th goes down to minus 28. 15th and the 16th, right up to where we are today, going down to minus 31.4, very negative, again with the SOI really crashing And once again, this is telling us, I think, that the atmosphere and the oceans are coupling up to produce this El Nino. This El Nino does look like the real deal. I have to say, it looks like it's going to be really quite a big event. I'm not sure it'll be a record break. I'm not sure it'll be 97, 98, but it's going to be the strongest since 97, 98, I think, and it's going to be very impactful for many parts of the world in the second half of the year. There'll be a new El Nino update coming up either on Sunday or the final Sunday of July. It just depends when the Jamstec model updates. I'm waiting for that to update, but as soon as it does, there'll be a new El Nino update. It'll either be this Sunday or next Sunday. Right, let's go back to the next week to 10 days, and here's the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. The red line, of course, is the 30-year temperature average, as you know, and here's the push up in temperature that's coming up for later today. Very, very brief increase in the temperature, but it does go briefly quite hot down in the southeast. It'll occur with tonight, so you won't necessarily feel it, but it'll probably feel quite humid and muggy down in the south. But after that, we see the temperatures dropping back again through the weekend. And then into the start of next week, we find temperatures pushing up a little bit, just briefly again, around the 21st, before they go back towards the 30 average. And overall, there's no real sign here amongst this ensemble that it's going to be turning particularly hot at any point in the next couple of weeks. Fairly warm, around the 30 average, so that is going to be fairly warm at this time of year, of course. But nothing particularly out of the ordinary coming up. Now, the rainfall spikes are reappearing for the end of the month. So here's tonight's rainfall spike associated with the risk of thunderstorms down in the southeast, and other models are not in agreement with this. They are not showing any storms for the south and the southeast, but this one, the GFS, is showing a chance of storms in the southeast. We'll have a look at that on Storm Watch this evening. Then quite a bit of dry weather really going through into next week. The first part of next week anyway looking really quite dry, but after that these spikes really come back. Look at that, it actually turns quite wet, and this is for London down in the southeast. It's turning quite wet there from around the 24th of July through towards the end of the month. This is around the 1st of August just here. Now, I'm not sure if you've been noticing this, but as we've been going along through the summer doing these updates, the ensembles have very regularly been showing unsettled wet conditions in the extended range, but it's never really, at least for the south anyway, it has for the north, it's never really got into the reliable time frame. The southern part has been quite a dry summer so far down in the south, whereas the north has had a very unsettled summer. Been a really disappointing for people living up in Scotland and Northern Ireland. But down in the south, these dry conditions have tended to carry on, and we've not really been able to push these wetter conditions into the reliable time frame of the models. It'll be interesting to see whether this time we do start to bring these wetter conditions into the reliable time frame. On the face of it, that looks like it's going to turn really quite unsettled at the end of the month. But let's just wait and see. It may not turn out quite like that is suggesting. The temperature anomaly is showing that it's going to be around average. So this is from the 16th to the 24th of July. The north is a bit above average. The south is the north is a bit below average, I should say. The south is a little bit above average. But overall, not deviating too far from normal. The rainfall anomaly is showing that it's going a little bit wetter than average, away from the southeast, but it's still a bit drier. Most parts are actually going towards the wetter side of things as we go from the 16th to 24th. Just indicates that things are perhaps going a little bit down the pan as we go into the final part of the month. Here's the generic chart then. This is the GFS for Monday. I've got this ridge down in the south, low pressure up in the north. So the south will be mainly dry to start next week, but north unsettled. Same old pan that we've had through most of the summer. Moving through to Tuesday, very similar conditions, unsettled in the north, mainly dry with that ridge down in the south. Wednesday sees a weakening of the ridge, so we start to push this low pressure into the country, could bring some cloud and shower rain down through parts of the UK. And then it all turns very odd looking as we go through into Thursday, very slack. We're close to bringing another push of heat down into the far south and southeast, but what eventually ends up happening is that it just turns very unsettled. So this is how things are looking for midday on Thursday, and low pressure is forming down to the south and southeast. That brings heavy rain up across many parts of England and Wales actually. It's being fueled by quite a big temperature contrast. We've got cool air to the north and warm air down to the southeast of that low pressure. It finished up quite a major feature in the North Sea. Could bring in a lot of rain at the end of next week, and quite cool temperatures as well, with the winds going in from the north. Then another area of low pressure starts to swing in as we go through to the final weekend of July. This is for Saturday the 25th of July and on in Sunday the 26th. That major low pressure system sweeps through the country, eventually pulls winds down from the north. That will bring a heavy rain across all parts of the country between, say, Thursday to Sunday. It's a long way off, though. It's a week away. And as I say, certainly for southern parts of the country, these unsettled charts that have been appearing around day 8, day 10, haven't really been getting into the reliable time frame, and that's why the south had generally quite a dry summer, despite the overall pattern being quite mixed. So it's been a strange old summer, this one so far. It'll be interesting whether those more unsettled conditions at the end of the week do actually materialise when we get to the time frame. Here's the ECMWF, very similar to start next week. The high pressures to the south, the low pressure to the north. It keeps the miserable summer going for Scotland. It keeps the warm and dry summer basically going down in the south. We move through to the middle of the week. If anything, pressure is weakening a little bit. It all gets very, very slack on Thursday, but it's this area of low pressure out to the southwest we've got to watch out for, because that does eventually move in and turns it unsettled. Same idea as the GFS, particularly for England and Wales. With this, it would be turning really quite wet indeed. It's being fueled by a big temperature contrast. Hot air is still there across much of France and the Low Countries. Really cool air for the time of year up to the north. This is unusually cool air across Greenland, parts of Iceland, coming down into the northern Atlantic. That's very unusual to see it that cool in that part of the world at this time of the year. So between that cool air and the heat across the continent, we're fueling low pressure is the general idea as we go up to the end of next week. And then moving through to the weekend of the 25th and 26th of July, it stays unsettled really. That low pressure that's fueled by the temperature contrast, that one moves away to Scandinavia, but this next low pressure is swinging in, bringing bands of rain in off the Atlantic. Finally with GEM, and here we go for middle of next week. Low pressure to the north, high pressure just about clinging on down to the south. We move through the week. It doesn't develop that nasty low pressure to the south of the country. It just brings cooler air down from the north and the northwest, and those cooler winds could be bringing showers at times, but still with a fair amount of high pressure influences actually from the GEM. So that's on the drier side of things, but it is cooling things off through next week. So it's an uncertain picture. On the face of it, it does appear that things are going more unsettled really through next week and could finish up really quite wet. But let's keep in mind that the models have been hinting at this in that day 8, 9, 10 period throughout much of this summer, and away from Scotland and Northern Ireland, where it has been a very disappointing summer. Away from there, southern areas have tended to be having a pretty good summer, warm and dry. So whether these more unsettled conditions will eventually materialise later next week, let's wait and see. Right, it's Storm Watch this evening around 6 o'clock. I've got to try and make sense of it all. It's proving very elusive, I have to say, but we'll do our best to see what may be happening tonight in terms of the risk of thunder. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.